It's your boy Sid. Welcome to the Dallas Cowboys for Life channel. We got a special show for you guys, a special guest. We got the fantasy winners and consolation loser joining us today to talk about how the fantasy went down, how they got to where they were, and we're going to have a lot of fun with this today. Enjoy what we're bringing you. We're going to take a few minutes to introduce ourselves. On my left,
I'm Kenton. I'm not on IG or anything like that, so yeah, just don't follow me.
And your name on fantasy was?
Ice Up.
There you go.
Cy, I'm on Twitch at X10Play if you want to play some Madden. Finish.
What place did you finish in?
Huh? I finished third.
Third, and your name on fantasy was?
Bills. I always take the team that is going to be the surprise of the year.
Micaldo over here, Micaldo, Instagram. You can check me there. You want to see what the champ does and the champ's lifestyle? I was number one.
And your name on fantasy was?
Dirty Birds.
Hi, this is Kilar. As you know, as the Cole of Black Crown, you can follow it out on Facebook, and I came in second place in fantasy.
All right, man. Thanks for that. So, guys, let's just go into a little bit about what the stats were this year. I gotta say, Micaldo, your draft grade was 30%. You finished C+ overall. Your weekly performance was 30% B overall. Your projection and final standings was 40% A overall, and your season grade was a B+. I gotta admit, I was shocked that you ended up pulling a W again this year. It's not the first year you've done this. You've been in the league for several times.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about what your strategy was going into the...
Well, you remember what I told you from years ago when I first started. You know, it was a little confusing fantasy. I didn't know football. You know, it's kind of crazy. You know, when you get into it. I learned something. I learned something about players and how they play. Money got involved. I realized that when money's involved, they don't play as well sometimes because it's all in their head. So I decided to be that GM, that coach, that I'm like the interviewer. I know my players. I'm into it. I study them, and I realized that a lot of players play with heart. When you look for players that play with heart, you're gonna win.
So you're talking about the second stringers,
those thirds, people who are like replacing guys from injury. They come in, they play extra good because they want to show up what they can do for the next game, things like that. So those are the kind of players I pick at, rather than going for the top players. And then of course you take that underdog, Lamar Jackson. I held him down because I realized he's also a guy that they undercut him.
Yeah, and we're going to get into that going into your weeks when you're going up against certain people, how Lamar Jackson definitely saved it for you. So congratulations. I believe that was one of your picks going into the season.
Yeah.
Your number one pick was Nick Chubb. Second pick was Lamar Jackson. Third pick was Calvin Ridley. So out of those three guys, I know you kept Lamar. Did you end up keeping the others?
I kept them all the way through the end, all three of them.
Okay, and I believe that the second string, we had this discussion in the WhatsApp chat when we saw everybody going for all these first round players and it didn't produce, so I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
So Yahoo had you as an overachiever.
That's right.
Yahoo also projected you to place 11th. So congratulations, you finished first.
That's right.
That's a lot of respect.
That's called heart, my friend. That's heart.
I forgot to say, we got a little man joining us in the video. This is Micaldo's son. He's being the father of the day, so
that's it. Responsibility.
He's already corrupting his son's mind with Atlanta Falcons jersey, but we'll talk about that another time. So we're gonna go to Sean, who plays second.
Yeah.
So Sean, you might want to lean over because you're kind of cutting out of the. There you go.
Yeah.
All right. So the draft grade had you at 30% A- overall. Weekly performance 30% B+ overall. Projection and final standing 40% A overall. Season grade an A-. I gotta admit, you were pretty much first going into pretty much every week.
I got lucky. I got lucky. People all over the world, all you have to do is make deals. Ordinary players make deals.
Okay,
Because
so that was your strategy going into it. So try and you did a lot of trades. I saw you always doing some kind of moves.
let's be real, I didn't pick the players. The computers did. So everything I had to make everything what I had to do with the players what I had to do. That's all. It was just crazy. I had to make deals.
Okay, so your top picks were first was Ezekiel Elliott, which you ended up trading to me.
Yeah, I did not pick it. That's the first one.
Your second was Dalvin Cook,
That's the second.
and your third was George Kittle. That's right. So when you're saying that the computer picked, you weren't in the draft live.
Yes.
You let the computer do the picks for you. So yeah, I guess you were lucky. So it wasn't about skill; it was about luck.
It was skill because I didn't have no kicker, no defense, or no quarterbacks. Everybody else had the quarterbacks except for this lucky guy with Lamar Jackson.
That's true.
Okay, that was just cheap. That's it.
Okay. So Yahoo had you ranked as an overachiever, and listen, Yahoo had you projected to be placed 12th overall throughout the season, and you finished second. So congratulations on that. Looking forward to next season. Hopefully, advise you to join the draft live. I think
This time.
This time, yeah.
Well, who knows? You finished second. Maybe it's a good luck thing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
So look, that's
I got good luck because most of you guys were either a Steelers fan or a Cowboys fan, or maybe certain ones were a Chiefs or something. So I had to play a head game. I had to see in the league what kind of fans you guys were. That's the only way.
I don't even think I had anything to do with
What?
your
I trade you Zeke
Yeah.
right away. Right
Okay.
away. Trevor, all you have to do is give him any Steelers player and he would have took it.
Oh
He
my
would have took it.
Oh my
So
God.
I already knew what was like most of my opponents. Know your opponents, people. Know your opponents.
It is true.
All right. So Cyril,
Yep.
your draft grade was 30% B minus overall. Weekly performance 30% B overall. Your projected and final standing was 40% A overall. Season grade overall was a B plus. Congratulations on making third. I think that. Listen, you skid in there, bro. You slid in there under the radar.
It's hard. It's hard. Honestly, with 12 teams, when you draft 10th, you know, you're not getting any of the big players. You're not getting Christian McCaffrey. You're not getting Camaro. You're not getting Mahomes. My first pick was Devontae Adams, right?
Yeah. Your first pick was Devontae Adams. Second was Travis Kelce, and your third pick was Damian Williams.
Yeah, they were gone. These
All
two.
of
No, I did a good trade. I have to say I was weak at the running back position, so I traded Travis Kelce for Gordon. Kind of helped me push to the playoffs, but completely abandoned me at the end. But and Damon Williams, I caught up quick that he was not going to be good since I think LaShawn McCoy was getting all the balls at that time. So.
Yeah. Okay, so Yahoo had you as a slacker, believe it or not. So that's kind of a blow, but listen, you ended up putting it through. You pulled the W. You placed third, and you did it. Congratulations! I'm sure Leo's upset because and we miss you, Leo.
Oh man, bro, I'm sorry you couldn't make it.
I thought you had that, Leo, and wow, I woke up the next morning and I gotta admit, I dropped my phone.
Yo, that
In
fourth
shock.
quarter was crazy, man. Back and forth.
Yeah,
Because he had Rodgers, I had Adams. Every time he caught a ball, Rodgers would get the points.
yeah. Aaron Rodgers took a lot of sacks that game. I
Yeah,
think he
exactly.
was even
Yeah.
shocked. So congratulations again on placing third.
Gotta be lucky to be good.
Yes, of course. So Kenton, listen,
Why
is he
here?
big, yeah,
I'm the best loser. That's what it comes down to. You know?
biggest
I'm the best
trash
loser.
talker and wasn't able to produce. We'll talk about that in a minute. So your draft grade was 30% B overall. Your weekly performance was 30% B minus overall. Projections and final standings was 40% C overall. Season grade was a B minus.
Yeah.
So wasn't so bad. talk about your strategy and tell us what happened.
Well, first and foremost, I should have put more emphasis on my quarterbacks. I mean, even though I did pretty well overall in the season, I ended up with Drew Brees and Carson Wentz as my 2 quarterbacks. So I did pretty well. I should have put more emphasis on my quarterbacks in the draft, definitely. What else? I mean, I lost Drew Brees for a good 4 or 5 weeks, so that didn't really help my case either. I lost some pretty close matchups. But I think if you look at my team, how I started and how I finished, I should have been producing. I should have been in the playoffs. I didn't make it to the playoffs at all. So, I mean, I look at, like, certain players. Like, for example, like, who did I draft in the top 3? I think I drafted David Johnson.
So, you're David Johnson, Julio Jones, and Mike Evans.
Yeah, Julio Jones put up numbers. Mike Evans, I traded him away, I think. It was an impulse trade. I think he had a bad week, and I was just off his dude, you know what I mean? So, somebody else benefited. But, anyways, I traded away Mike Evans, so that, that was, scratch that off. But David Johnson, man, this guy he just disappointed me the whole season, man. He was considered like a top 5 pick in most draft projections, and this guy just kind of went to bed for me.
Man, that's not the first time he does that.
Yeah. So I mean, I was I put my eggs in one basket. But if you look at my team, draft day, and you look at my team as it is now, I mean, I had Saquon Barkley. There's another player that kind of was a bust for most of the season. So I mean, he ended off pretty well if he made it to the playoffs, which I didn't. Unfortunately, otherwise I'd be winning first place right now. But that's a discussion for another day. You know what I mean?
Sorry.
Yahoo had you placing over 3rd overall, and you placed 7th. So obviously something went wrong for you somewhere.
It was just the injuries. It was the injuries. Players not producing the way they were projected to.
Yeah. I think that's one of the biggest things about the NFL this year. We lost a lot of key players.
A lot of quarterbacks.
Quarterbacks, yeah.
Were dropping like flies within the first couple weeks.
This year, I was hoping Andrew Luck was going to start. And then when he was gone, I was just like, all right.
Yeah.
Listen,
I think shock was Saquon Barkley going down at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, man.
Mahomes. I think when Mahomes got injured, the fantasy world went crazy because they were happy that this guy actually got... Because then they thought maybe they have the chance to beat players who had Mahomes uninjured.
What did he have? Like 12 touchdowns within the first 3 games, or
Mahomes was
insane.
People were talking about him breaking the record that he set last year. That's how good he was. But the thing is, when you're in a 2 quarterback league, and quarterback goes down, or you lose, you lose a quarterback for a couple of games, it's hard to make up those points because in a 2 quarterback league, 12 teams, so that's 24 QBs, 24 starting QBs.
Yeah.
You know how many teams in the NFL? There's 30 teams in the NFL.
Yeah.
So that's 6 teams that you have. You're basically using a wash-up quarterback because 6 teams in the NFL. You know what I mean? If you look at their starting quarterbacks, they're probably not going to be there next year. Yeah. So it was hard to make up those points. If you lost a quarterback, then it was hard to kind of recover from that. So that's where I went wrong this year.
Yeah. I don't know really to say because I got lucky.
True. I mean, I don't know how you did it.
I started with Andrew Dalton and Matt Stafford.
That's true, yeah.
And the first week I showed them off like a showcase, and then boom, people wanted them. That's all I do. I was shuffling quarterbacks, and I was surviving, holding on like a lucky string. If I didn't trade Trevor, somebody just for Kirk Cousins, I didn't have no quarterback. I was stuck with $90.
That's true.
Hopkins.
That's true.
All these quarterbacks kept doing so many turnovers and getting like -2, -3.
Yeah.
No, honestly, hats off to you because honestly, when you drafted your team and I was looking at your squad and I'm like, this is a 2 quarterback league. And this dude has no quarterbacks. I was like, I was like, what's going on here? I'm like, does he know that he's like, does he know that he's in the league or like what's going on? You know what I mean?
But that's what happened because the computer was taking from him, right?
Exactly.
And I think I was like, Sean's done. I honestly counted him out because I was like, how this guy is gonna ever make it without having any QBs? Yeah. There's no way.
Yeah.
And that's something that a lot of people brought to me, and they were like, they've never played in the 2 QB league.
Yeah, that was the first time I played.
Yeah, but I have with Bruce many times before, so I'm okay. But you guys, it was the first.
So what do you guys think about the 2 QB league going into this? Do you think it makes it a little harder? Do you think it makes it a little easier?
When you can't I don't know. For me personally, because I play in a lot of fantasy leagues, so I kind of have a bit of experience when it comes on to stuff like this, which is why I'm kind of still vexed that I didn't make it to the finals with the team I had.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 quarterback leagues are tough when you only have, like, for example, like this league is only 3 bench, right? So I mean, it's hard. There's 3 bench, no IR, so it's hard to manage bye weeks, injuries, and 2 quarterbacks when you have all these things to think about. So it made it more interesting, definitely. Kind of in a sense, it made you more. Well, I mean, for me, anyways, I know for next season, like I'm coming in like looking at quarterbacks. Like I'm like, shoot, like I need to have my quarterbacks lined up. You know what I mean? Because me, I was like, whatever, 2 quarterback league, I'll just take some scrubs at the end. Load up on the running backs and the receivers, which was my strategy this year.
Yeah.
And I mean, coming out of the draft, I mean, apparently Yahoo liked that, but that's not how I should have. That's not how I should have went into that. I should have went in, putting more emphasis on quarterbacks. Or just draft Lamar Jackson. I mean, that would.
That's the only lucky one.
Guy, don't even put up your hand.
You gotta
luck.
No,
That's luck.
that's not luck.
I give him credit.
What do you have to look at?
Your second pick.
This is my second pick because I said I needed a quarterback. I didn't even look at any
Most
other
people
quarterback.
don't even waste their second pick on a quarterback.
They don't.
Exactly.
And that was my choice.
Exactly.
Because I said to
So I give him credit for that.
Yeah, I said to myself.
I give you credit for that because, as most guys are saying, people usually don't draft quarterbacks until like the a 2 quarterback league, maybe mid round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
5th, 6th.
And when you drafted Lamar Jackson, I was like, okay, I mean, whatever. Do you think, man? If you know something, I don't.
I
Like, whatever.
I would think he did. I would think he did.
And I told
Because of where he plays, I mean, Lamar Jackson put up some crazy points.
Yeah, he
crazy point.
He had a good
But I
season.
told you it was about heart because last year they made fun of him. They weren't happy with him. Yeah, he started winning the games at the end, but they're like, you didn't win the playoffs. You didn't do any of that. So they're already against him from that point. So I said to myself, this year he's gonna play with heart. I'm gonna pick him because he's gonna be mad and he had something to prove.
Yeah.
And that's what he did. Not only did he run, he passed touchdowns. And then what did he say in his interviews? Not bad for a running back, right?
Exactly.
What did his coach say? Not bad for a running back, eh? That's what it is.
So let's touch on Lamar Jackson a little bit because week 1, I was shocked. Week 1, you got a W over Jimbo. But we can't really, count Jimbo in all of this because I don't think Jimbo is really focused.
It's true.
So I think that W should have been nailed, but that's on.
That's my opinion. Even if he was focused or not.
No, but honestly speaking, Lamar Jackson got you 55 points.
That's it.
In that first week, and Deshaun Jackson got you 31 points. So looking at that, when I saw that alone, I said, "Oops, Lamar Jackson is somebody who's going to matter this year."
That's it.
And he showed it week 1.
Right away.
Well, think about it. I mean, think about it. Your quarterback is putting up running back numbers. Like he finished 6th in the league in rushing yards.
Yeah.
That's more than like 80% of the running backs in the NFL. Or not even 95% of the running backs in the NFL.
All I have to say,
he finished with as much.
Just
yards
got a good
as
season. Great break. He could pass and throw and run, and he was just a video game player that put up crazy stats.
Yeah. But you know what? I honestly think.
Let's see what he does in the playoffs now.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. But quarterbacks, a lot of these younger quarterbacks are leaning towards not only throwing the ball but also running the ball. And I think it opens up a bigger playing game in the NFL.
Very interesting.
I think it's more.
It's risky.
I think now you're seeing teams build a system around a running quarterback, and you're going to see teams doing that a lot more now because you see, like especially in college, you see there's a lot of college quarterbacks who can run the football. Maybe not as good as Lamar Jackson, but there's guys who are respectable at running the football and who are pretty quick as well, but they don't really transcend. They don't make that next the jump to the league. You know what I mean? So you're going to start seeing a lot of teams make that transition and actually try to cater to a quarterback who can run the football now. Now that we've seen Lamar Jackson do what he's doing, you know what I mean?
But do you guys think that maybe these quarterbacks running the ball more will also cause a lot more injuries?
That's it.
They got to know
sure.
how to throw.
You're gonna be exposed to more hits. So that's definitely gonna happen.
You've seen the hits that he took. They're risky hits.
I've seen it, been there, done that. I've seen it through Cordell Stewart. We used to see it from
RG3.
Ronald Cunningham.
Yeah.
We used to see
You
it
might want to
from-
lean back just a little bit so Micaldo was actually in the shot.
No, it's okay.
Move over
That's
a little
all right,
bit. I know you're putting your little man to sleep, but
I used to see it from that style, but those were a different style of NFL where those coordinators expect them to play a certain kind of way, and those guys were like, "Nah, I'm not with it. Watch this."
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, like how Michael Vick used to do it. He's like, "I'm not with this. I'm gonna do this," and everybody's like, "Oh my God, did you see that?" Now we're trying to get used to a quarterback that's all about that.
Yeah.
That we're seeing that.
I think
like,
he even has a better arm than
Exactly.
Vic. Honestly,
yeah,
he's
so we're
incredible.
seeing- it's great to see that someone's respecting that. Like, this is what he got. Let's showcase it. Not him just coming out of the woodworks and just doing whatever he had to do to survive and make his team go to the next level.
He did it because that's him. That's how he plays. So.
Yeah.
Because look at the teams like Michael Vick had. They're not the greatest receivers or anything like that, or great tight end play or anything like that. He had work done for like a couple seasons.
That's it. That wasn't even enough. That wasn't even enough.
But I mean, I feel like that team is just catered towards his running style. I mean, towards his playing style.
And that's what it is,
yeah.
because not many teams have that kind of mentality player. And there's not a lot of quarterbacks that are going to actually think.
And
of
a
doing
lot of
that.
tight ends, big body guys.
Yeah, guys that can catch the football and run
Exactly.
downfield as well. Yeah, for sure. Because what, Baltimore has 3 tight ends. They got
Mark Andrews, really break
they
out.
got they got 2 tight ends that were catching balls
Sneal.
for them. You know
They
what I
got
mean? So
Sneal.
they got a
Sneal's
good.
out in there.
So, Micaldo, you know, I got you on your. I think you're on a little bit of a high horse, but I gotta come to week 5.
What's on week 5?
Week
Oh,
5,
man.
week 5, you
That
took
was-
a beating from Spanky Cheese.
That was tough.
So,
That was tough.
Spanky Cheese put up 200.12 points, and you only put up 84.
Yeah. I
Um,
think I had some.
Baker Mayfield minus 8 points.
That's it.
Lamar Jackson wasn't too hot that week because he only gave you 6 points.
It was raining. It was a bad day for him.
Oh man, here's the
And
excuses.
that's the thing. He has Baker Mayfield the whole entire season. It's
I
not
couldn't
like
get
he was
rid of
on
him.
fire.
I couldn't get rid of Baker.
It's just
Mayfield.
Lamar Jackson.
You know, and let's talk. You know, a lot of people ask me, you know, and not just in the league, outside the league. Some of my friends that I would show about what's going on with our league, and they were like, "How do you guys get minus?" So I remember going into this big argument with Jesse about a quarterback throwing interceptions and getting sacked, because I have interceptions at -1 point and I have sacks at -2. So his argument was, and Leo too was on it, saying it should have been reversed. An interception should have been -2 and a sack should have been -1. So my argument with him was a QB can't decide when he's going to throw an interception. They don't throw interceptions on purpose.
Unless he's Mr. Trubisky.
or Eli Manning. But that's another topic. And I said, as a QB, and when I used to coach football, that's one of the biggest things that I used to tell my quarterbacks. If you see that you're about to get sacked, throw the ball away. And that's why my argument to Scoregasm, Jesse, was a QB has, not saying that he's going to see a sack coming all the time, but guys, I've seen the ball get thrown, you know, they throw it to the ground or they throw it out of bounds because they're about to get sacked. So that was my reasoning behind the -2. I just want to get your intake on it, and that's why our league had some minuses at some points when it came to the quarterbacks. So let's
I'm
touch
certainly
those
going
up.
to focus on that next year. I had Jacoby Brissett. He's one of those good ones that throws the ball as soon as he doesn't get sacked much. I'd say I'd be surprised if he has 10 sacks this whole year, because he throws the ball either to the stands, either where there's no coverage. And except what about what's his name? Russell Wilson. That's one of the worst ones. Keep getting sacked for no reason.
Yeah.
He doesn't get it intercepted that much, but I don't know, man. He just keeps getting hit, takes wrong decisions.
So do you guys agree with the way I had it?
Well, I see where you're coming from, but I kind of veer towards where Jesse and Leo were saying. I mean, if your team has a garbage offensive, if your quarterback has a garbage offensive line, then you're kind of putting him behind the you know what I mean, behind the gun, because at the same time it's like, you know, look, example, Russell Wilson, he didn't throw many interceptions this year, but he got sacked a lot. So I mean, because of his offensive line, it kind of regressed his production as a quarterback. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas if it's just interceptions, yeah, I agree. I mean, you can throw it away and whatnot, but I find quarterbacks are more at fault for interceptions than a sack, because at the end of the day, you're throwing that ball to the receiver, right? So it's a decision that you made that obviously ended in that kind of consequence.
And it's a turnover.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas a sack is, you know, you could get sacked but still finish that drive with a touchdown. So I mean, it's not as, it doesn't hurt the team as much to be sacked than it is to throw an interception. An interception is a change of possession. a sack, you lose yardage. You know what I mean? At the very worst, you lose yardage, or if you get fumbled, or if you fumble the ball or whatever, you still have a chance to make a play. You know what I mean? You still have the chance to finish that drive in a positive way.
Okay, so that's something definitely we're gonna look into next year. Maybe we'll flip it or
switch it up a bit.
But
I think it should stick that way.
A little bit different because each quarterback's style of edge are different. There's like a guy like Patrick Mahomes. He can run and do stuff a little bit like Lamar Jackson, but he will throw the ball away. But he will hold on to the ball because he's a playmaker.
Right.
Same way like Russell Wilson's a playmaker. He'll hold on to the ball and try to see what other receivers would happen. So I find that that's also on their fault on the reason why they're getting sacked. Because there's a time period for each receiver to get open in the holes that they've been practicing all season long. All season long they've been doing this. So whatever he decides what pocket he wants to throw, these guys should be already connecting since time. So I kind of rate the sacks a little bit more because it's like they're holding on the ball for what? It's time. Look at Tom Brady. He's old as snap, and all he does is just throw the ball 2 seconds. 2 seconds.
Yep.
yeah, I can't stand Brady, but that's another.
So it's true.
But you had him all
Yeah,
season.
you know what? Because sometimes he was consistent, other times he wasn't. He had good weeks for me. But we're not talking about me. I didn't make the playoffs.
But you made the rules, and we're talking about it. So you know, it goes to each edge to what team, how they work. Because look at Phillip Rivers. He can't move, and he has to get the ball.
Oh yeah.
And he holds on to the ball longer. And
He doesn't care. He's like Eli. You'll just throw it down there. We'll see how it works.
He's the type. He's like, yo, pressure's coming. Screw taking the sack. I'm throwing this ball, and I don't care who catches it.
taking the sack. I'm almost 40.
Or he might take the sack, or he might. So you know.
I think Brady's protected by the referees, in my opinion. Because anytime this guy gets some kind of push or hit, somebody's getting flagged for something.
Well, he is 42, right?
Just
but at the same time, Tom Brady's the type of guy, when he's getting pressure, he's not trying to extend the play. Like, if you look, if you watch him closely, whenever you see he's getting pressure, if he doesn't have anywhere to throw it, he's getting to the ground before the defensive player can even tackle him. You know what I mean?
That's why he still plays on.
Exactly. So he's smarter with the football. He'll, instead of taking that hit, he'll rather just go to the ground, take a knee. You know what I mean?
So let's go into week 6 because Micaldo, you ended up going against Cyril, and I don't know if you want to pull out your week 6 stats there, Cyril. But I kind of noticed, Cyril, you had Devontae Adams. You had him on your starting roster, and he got you 0 points. I don't know.
There you go.
Yeah.
That
so
week.
you had Melvin Gordon also got you 6 points. You had no one on your WRT slot, and you also had an empty wide receiver slot.
That's how scarce our league was. Like if you let go one player, you know someone was gonna pick it up.
Yeah.
We only had 3 benches.
Yeah.
If I look here, I wasn't gonna let go of Brissett. That's for sure. And the kind of season we were having, I think. Who left at the beginning for the quarterbacks? There was Breeze, Newton, Foles. So there was no replacement. So I just took a L for that week. And
okay, so you just decided that there's no way I'm dropping any of these guys.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'd rather go into.
Especially my team was lacking depth, so.
But did you ever think about it? And I'm playing devil's advocate here. That might cost you second place. You could have placed second overall if you would have, gotten a W that week.
Who knows? But I certainly thought about it during the last week before the playoffs, man. making it by I don't know 2 points.
Yeah. No, you actually actually you were right. So it wasn't a bad mistake.
Yeah.
At least you made the final 3.
That's it.
I think that's what matters. And next
I'm
year
here.
you have a bigger goal.
Well, second or third, you're pretty much under first, so.
Yeah.
I'm still the champion.
But I get what you're saying. You never know if I would have played that week. But he had 166 points. That's still a good week. Hard to beat,
you gotta also consider there was a lot of players I really had to get rid of, and even if I didn't want to, I kept Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah.
He was such a huge gamble. I kept him for so long, and I should have just got rid of him. And
I think we all made that mistake. I think halfway through the season, if I would have dropped Brady and maybe went another
I
direction.
think we all have that player every year.
I think, yeah.
every
I
year.
took Christian Kirk.
I
He
thought
only
you get used to it. All the time I was on your league, I always had Brady.
Yeah,
this
no.
was the first time I didn't have
You
Brady.
didn't have him, I know. You know, because every week that it came, I was like, oh, please, just let me have a good game with Brady today. And obviously he didn't. So we're going to bring up...
What about week 3 where I played against Ice Up?
yeah, we're gonna get to that. Just want to Micaldo's weeks
pull
here.
my wig
That's
when I
crazy.
exercise up.
Micaldo had 2 rough weeks, week 8 and week 9. You actually took a loss against Scoregasms, which is our boy Jesse. So let's talk about Jesse for a second, because Jesse surprised me.
Yeah.
In the beginning, this guy dropped some key players that we thought. I thought he was smoking something at some point, because I couldn't
You are
believe-
going
What
nuts,
players
man, with
did
his
he drop
trades.
Exactly, I didn't realize.
Yeah. His trades were, Jesse, your trades? Oof. And we were texting each other privately and saying, this guy's either losing his mind or he knows nothing about football. But
When was his trade?
Oh my!
he ended up trading Saquon Barkley at the beginning. He was doing every week. Every day he was trading somebody for someone.
In the first 3 weeks, because I remember I'm looking at the matchup with my matchup with in week 3, and I had Saquon Barkley on my team. So within the first 3 weeks, there was trades going down
he
left,
was
right, and center.
every time. I didn't go look at his thing, but I think every time he lost, he ended up trying to drop or trade someone. And I think that's when we decided to implement the rule of only a certain amount of trades.
Okay.
And we said we're only gonna allow a certain amount of trades because it was getting out of hand.
Because my trades, it stopped me a lot. It stopped me trading after week 6. I had to stay married to all the players. I couldn't do any more trades. I had to pick up every player from the waiver wire.
No, but that's just it. So, again, Jesse, man, I don't know how you crawled back up. You were fighting to make it back into the playoffs. I believe he was the one also that was fighting.
He was close.
He was close.
Yeah.
I know he
for
wanted to
7.
be in this video, but there's always next year.
Oh, you gotta come back.
Yeah. I know you're excited. You want next year to start already. He wrote me a few times saying he can't wait till next year. I think a lot of us can't, because this was the best league I've ever had.
Yeah, because you weren't in charge this time. I was able to do the trade deals. That's why I did it first.
We put it to a vote. That's why.
Yeah.
Now you took another beating against comeback Darky Micaldo. I know you're over here with your son. You actually lost 207 to 99.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, from that point on, I think you just started climbing up, and that's why you got to where you are. So congratulations, but you still took a few beatings throughout the season. But once again, Micaldo ends up getting first. Shocking.
Always a champion, you know. That loss, comeback Darky, I find that he always gets lucky when he needs to. It's been a thing from last season I played him. It was the same thing. He got lucky when he needed to.
Yeah, he's hard.
He gets the wins exactly at the times when you think you're gonna win. Something just goes against you.
Except when he's facing me in the quarters.
Ah, yeah.
I was happy he wasn't in the playoffs. He would be a problem.
Oh, he would have been a problem. He's like one of those high-risk players.
Yeah.
I was hoping he wouldn't make it. I was hoping that Kilar wouldn't make it. I was hoping that Ice Stop wouldn't make it. There was a lot of people I said to myself, I just hope they don't make it to the playoff.
Yeah.
And you know what? Playing against him, it was interesting. He deserved that win. Good one.
All right, so we're gonna move on from first to Kenton over here. Let's touch about the losers bracket a little bit. Week 1, you got a W against Spanky Cheese, 154 to 102. Carson Wentz came out strong for you with 43 points. And Spanky Cheese, Mitchell Trubisky, minus 0.78 points. Trubisky, wow, this guy.
Helped me out that week, so I mean.
Yeah, it definitely did. Then you got a W against Dirty Birds.
Ah, yeah.
Okay, so this one wasn't too. Micaldo, calm down, because he didn't blow him out the water. Because actually 125 to 117.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Drew Brees got you 52 points, he still pulled out the W on that week.
Yeah.
So, talk a little bit about that, and let me know. Like, let's bring out look at your stats, and let's bring out your key players for you that week. And how did you feel?
Honestly, like, well, I mean, if you look at even my projections I was supposed to score 162 points, and I only put up 125. So, I mean, looking at it now, that was the game that Breeze got hurt, and he was out for a few weeks with the injury there.
Mm-hmm.
Again, David Johnson, this guy was supposed to be a first-round talent, man. He should have put up like 20 points a game. This guy's putting up like, you know what I mean? Like 7.9 points, man. So that was, a lot of players just underachieved that week, but I somehow managed to pull out that win.
Okay.
And, I'm looking at my roster now. There's a few guys that for example, like Kenyon Drake, DJ Moore. These guys actually ended up having great seasons to tail off the year, but I kind of lost patience in those guys and just dropped them.
I think that's a mistake a lot of us made. We dropped a lot of key players in the beginning. Doing a 12-man league definitely is hard. I think it's a lot harder because you're getting the bottom of the barrel once you drop a key player.
Yeah.
Not only that, it's like when there's only 3 bench spots, you can't just sit guys on the bench and say, okay, let me just wait and see with these guys. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like a revolving door where if these guys don't produce, you gotta kind of move on and try and find the next person. So it makes things interesting in that sense because like I said, you can't just store guys on your bench and just kind of wait and hope until they pick things up. You gotta keep things moving and always try to find the next best person up. So
you look at it as a punishment.
Exactly.
Because if you hold on to him and he does bad, then you're wasting.
Exactly.
Waste.
And then there's a flip side of that where you let go of them. Someone else picks them up, and then 3-4 weeks down the line, they're kicking your tail because they have that dude on their team now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's always it's fun in that perspective. Yeah, for sure.
I think what bothered me the most is when you drop somebody and then the week after somebody else picks him up and he puts up like 20-30 points.
That's it.
Right?
That's it.
And this league was so competitive. For the waivers, you knew that if you had a good player in there, he was going to get picked up. You just had to look at the position of the waivers.
Yeah.
He was gone.
Yeah, and if you lost, and depending how you lose,
everyone knew
who gets the first pick, who gets the right picks.
Yeah, that's something I ended up. I switched that in the fantasy league. That I put it that whoever got lost the worst would get first waiver. Yeah, because Yahoo actually has it that the person who wins and has the best win gets first pick on a waiver.
No, I don't like it that way.
I reversed it. I said it would be more fair doing it that way.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of glad that I did that.
That's good, but what I would maybe, I don't know, it's just suggested for next season. It works pretty well in a lot of leagues as well. You have like your fab money. You have like let's say a fixed amount of money, like say $100 for the season.
Mm-hmm.
And then every week there's no waiver order. It's whoever bids the highest on said player gets that player. So everybody has a shot at kind of picking up that one player, regardless of where you are in the standings.
But you only have $100 for the whole season.
Exactly. So if you wanna, you can screw yourself. Where you can, if you see one guy who has like for example, Hollywood Brown from the Ravens. He had one week in like week 2 or week 3 where he put up like 20-something points, and a lot of people were just going nuts with this guy. So they put like 70 fab on him, and then the next like 5-6 weeks he did nothing.
Yeah.
So there's always that kind of that risk reward type of thing aspect of doing things that way, which I think is interesting as well. But it also gives everybody a chance to bid on the same player. So if you really want that player, you don't know what the next person's bidding. So hey, I may have to put like $80 just to pick up this one player. You know what I mean? When that's where it's fun in that in that aspect too. But I mean, I guess again, it's
I'll be down for that.
These are things that we got to vote on and figure out as a league.
I look at it. You got to be careful because the players are just the players. It's the offensive coordinators that makes the players shine.
Right.
Because look at when you had the Cleveland Browns. Look what the offensive coordinator did with Odell Beckham.
True.
Nick Chubbs and all that. They didn't show high stats with such great players. That's why the guy who picked up Jimmy Garoppolo, I really wanted him because it's Mike Shanahan,
right.
And that's behind like line of great coaches.
So you already know like his offense is gonna be well balanced.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So week 2, we covered that. Now week 3, you took an L to Kilar.
That was my first loss of the season too.
Yeah,
man.
exactly. So, but you only lost by 7-point-something points.
Yeah.
It was a close game, but Sean did pull out the W.
Mariota didn't be garbage.
Yeah. Minus 2 or something like that.
Mariota.
Who? Jeez, man, that's even worse when you have you have the other team like spotting you points and you still can't even pull out the win. That's the worst.
Now week 4, you took a W.
Well, you picked up Tannehill afterwards.
So I
Yeah.
Saved your season.
Save my
God.
tail.
Oh
Save
my
my tail.
That's the
when
reason
I
why you're
saw
sitting
him on
there.
the waiver wire, I had to pick him up.
You got a W against Scoregasm in week 4, but we know why, because that was when Jesse was like going all over the place. I think he was like didn't know what to do.
I think he was trying to find himself during that period. So I think things were just going on.
I think we were all like, okay. I think from that point on, I think everybody had the same mindset that I had. Anybody who would play Jesse would get that W. But he ended up pulling out some wins. So I'm not going to go into his stats, but Jesse, you shot some of us, so congratulations.
What
on
about
that.
AB? AB was shuffled through everyone.
Yeah, but it's because AB.
It's like, AB went to the Patriots.
Yeah.
Somebody picked him up right away. Then
Yeah.
AB was dropped. He was back on the wire.
But
then,
Trevor dangled him, used them, and shuffled them around. That
That
was
was-
so funny.
Yeah. So, week 5, you took a beating. 202 to 103 to come back Darky.
yeah,
Um,
I think that's when things.
Aaron Jones gave him 45 points. Will Fuller gave him 46 points. Ouch. So I think those two guys alone ended up hurting you that week alone.
No doubt. Yeah.
But again, those players weren't consistent. And I think that's the problem with fantasy is that a lot of players play good one week and not so hot the next week. I don't think there was any real consistency in fantasy unless you count Lamar Jackson and, you know.
George Kittle wasn't that bad either.
You know, so I think that's the reason why you took a beating that week. You beat VTech Squad week 6, and then you kind of like win, loss, win, loss, win. So
Yeah, week 6 I was good, man. I think I was at 4-2 at that point, and then from there it's kind of spiraled. You know.
Yeah.
The consistency was dropping off, so I think at that point that's
like,
when I
but
lost
I'm looking at your stats. It's not like you were getting blown out the water, really.
Yeah.
You were just like week 11. You beat Micaldo by 1 point something points.
Yeah, that was good.
You know, so it's not like I think I understand why Yahoo placed you where you were placed. You were supposed to do big things, but unfortunately, you just didn't pull it out. You still finished 7-6 overall. I think a lot of us finished 7-6.
Yeah,
a lot.
that's why I'm looking back at it now. If I finished 7-6. I think if I was 8-5, for sure, I think I would have made playoffs for sure.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
That's so. I mean, that just goes to show you. I mean,
and I think that's a lot of people who play 7-6. It came down to certain weeks where we made bad moves, or
that's it.
Or points.
Yeah,
Points.
The
Yeah.
points,
Dude, that's why
overall.
this guy's sitting back. He's like, "Oh, Sean, I'm good. I got points."
Yeah.
He's like, really? Things like that. He's like, "Look, doesn't matter if I win or lose."
I calculated
So-
it to that.
So let's touch a little bit about Cyril. So Cyril, I looked at your stats sheets week on, week in, and week out. Listen, it's not that you weren't consistent. Some weeks your players pulled through for you. Week 1 against Comeback Darky, 125 to 104. You pulled a W when Cam Newton gave you 0.36 points.
Cam Newton.
Cam.
I wonder where he's going to play next year, honestly, Cam Newton.
If he's gonna play next year.
If he's going to play next year, exactly.
So and then week 2 you took an L by here to beat Micaldo, 182 to 116.
That's another stinker by Cam Newton, right?
Cam Newton only got you 9.32 points,
Yeah, and then he got injured.
and then he got injured. But the week after, it didn't matter because you still took another L after you dropped Cam Newton.
Yeah.
That didn't seem to help you because you lost against VTech Squad.
Oh, that was a back and forth game, man.
Yeah, it was
182, 164. So two good performance.
Yep.
But Christian McCaffrey, every time that I was scoring a touchdown, he was scoring another. And Greg Olson with 22 points.
Yeah.
Yeah, for Leo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I need you to go into week 4. Because week 4 you got a W against Frankie Cheese, 138-70. You had a big week. Jacoby Brisket got you 36 points. Russell Wilson didn't do much for you. He got you 8.30 points. But other players made up for it. Devontae Adams got you 23 points and so on.
Yep.
So,
he came up big. That injury really hurt me and throughout the little bit. I think after week 4, week 5, he hurt his foot or something.
Yep.
And
Sorry,
that really
guys.
hurt me because
I don't want to insult my fans, my Cowboy fans, but the flag kind of fell over here.
I'll start over.
Maybe that's bad luck. They're not going to make the playoffs today, man.
That's a sign.
No, don't talk like that,
That's a
fellas.
sign.
They got to make
So,
it. The NFL would be happy.
It's true though. Honestly, I like to.
I'll let it down.
I'll be up front. I mean, I'd rather see the Cowboys making the playoffs than the Eagles right now.
It's
because I
much
feel
more
like
happier when they make it. The
We
league
can
is
definitely touch on that once all the interviews done for the fantasy. So,
But yeah, Jacoby Brissett came up big in few games this year. Like no one saw him really as a true replacement for Andrew Luck, but he kept his way. Honestly, he knew the playbook very well,
yep.
and came up with a few big weeks with 30 points. That really helped me out. Devontae Adams, it's 0.5. We're playing a half point PPR league, so he gets always like at least 10 touches per game.
Yep.
That's it. I honestly, I've never picked so low on draft day. So I told myself I was gonna take one great player at every position, and Russell Wilson was supposed to be my good quarterback. Devontae Adams was supposed to be my.
So you're about to trade
There we
Russell
are.
Wilson for Cooper.
For who?
Hunter Cooper.
Amari Cooper?
Yeah, at the
Yeah,
first
at one
week,
point.
because Bruce was fighting hard just to get the Ezekiel Elliott at the
That's
same
true.
time. You were trying to get
I
Russell Wilson.
wanted Cooper and Zeke though.
Yeah, exactly. You're
Cooper
giving
and
me all
Zeke.
that crazy
And
deal.
he freaked out afterwards.
Exactly. You started because I kept telling you guys, I'm like, I'm gonna give these guys no matter
He's like,
what.
oh, I can't do the trade because Devontae Adams already out.
So I want to go over a few weeks. From that point on, you did pretty well. You got W's, you got losses.
I always
but-
stay close to 500, I think.
Yeah. So week 9, you got a W against Iced Up. So I want
We
to
all
talk
did.
about this game because Wilson got you 50 points. Jacoby Brisket got you 0.76 points. But when you look over at Iced Up, Drew Brees, you had Drew Brees on your lineup.
Yeah,
It was a bye week for you.
Yeah.
And Carson Wentz only got you 9 points.
That's maybe why
Rough
you're not in the
weekend.
playoff.
I'm telling you. But if you look at my
That's-
bench, I had, for example, I had Boyd on a bye. I couldn't drop him. I had Julio Jones on a bye. I can't drop him.
Okay.
I have David Johnson, who I believed in, on a bye. Well, he was injured, so I couldn't drop him either. So I was in a situation where I had.
You could have dropped Didi.
No, you try to marry these players.
Yeah, that's it, man. That's what it is, man. You could have
That's what
dropped Didi.
happens. I think a lot of us marry our players.
Amendola,
I
really?
married Brady. I married and these are players that maybe I should have dropped at some point in the season. But the one game I really, really want to cover with you, Cyril, is what made you get to where you are today in your 3rd place when you ended up beating Leo's team. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Let's look at it.
So, I know you were sweating because I was sweating for you watching that game. You came back. The final score was 134 to 129.
Yeah, he had the lead from Saturday morning, I believe.
Yeah, he definitely had the lead.
And if I look here, it was back and forth. Basically, I think on Sunday night he had Rodgers, and I had Devontae Adams, and who else did I have?
You know what I remember writing this in the chat. I said to Leo, as long as Rodgers keeps throwing to Devontae Adams, you're in trouble.
Right, and that's his only target.
And that was his only target. So at the
He
end,
loves Devontae Adams, but the rest of the Packers receiver core are kind of scrubs. You never know what to expect from Allison, from Marquise Valdez.
Yeah.
I picked
that
up Marquise
Lazard
Valdez.
guy.
Actually, I drafted that guy.
Oh,
I
that
thought he
Lazard
was gonna
guy
bring.
that came out of the woodwork.
Yeah, Lazard.
Yeah,
no.
he just come out of the woodwork.
He's not bad.
you
He's
know?
not bad.
It was like
He's not
week 3, he had like almost 30 points.
Yeah.
we're nearly over.
Okay.
We got this, so I just want to go over some again.
But Leo, honestly, you deserved that one. Having Rogers here with 3 points and Rivers with 9 points, they kind of let you down.
I think Leo's upset. I haven't heard, he hasn't written anything since that day. I think he's still recovering.
I think he threw his phone.
Yeah. He might have broke another phone because I know he broke one at the beginning of the season. But congratulations on making third. You came back and you fought, and your team didn't give up for you. And I saw you made some big moves this year, and congratulations on that again.
Thank you.
So Sean,
Yeah.
reason why I saved you for last is because Mr. Sean was basically in first place throughout most of the season.
Yeah, without having drafted a quarterback to begin the season with. So I mean, hats off to that man for real.
Yeah, I know you said again it was luck and the computers picked it for you, but you got to take some kind of credit because I did see you making some kind of moves.
Well, like I said, I made some kind of deals and moves, but when my number one tip, which most of you guys might want to take in and key, is in the NFL.
Whoa, Mr. Professional. All of a
Yes.
sudden. Should we take our notepads out?
No, you can take it and record it. But in the NFL, it always deals with the offensive coordinators and the coaches in the end. The top ranked coaches, the top ranked offense, I'll say stats wise, why the coaches and style of edge. Look at Tampa Bay Bucks. If you didn't give up Evans, because I had Chris Godwin, both of them at the beginning were spanking and killing it. Whoever had Jameis Winston's was happy because no matter if he threw like 4 interceptions, he still had like 5 touchdowns too to back it up.
Yep.
And that's the key. We're trying to go for stats. I don't have heart for players. I tried that in the first season with Bruce, and it bit me in the end. So I realized it's a stats basis and what kind of offensive coordinator that you want to roll with behind the team that you want to go with. Mm-hmm. It's like I got lucky with George Kittle because it's Mike Shanahan, the West Coast offense,
Right.
due to the great late 49ers back in the day. I forgot his the coach. What's his name? Joe. It's not Joe Gibbs.
Shoot. I think no. It was.
I'm sure somebody in the chat once we post this video will post
Well, you
it.
got the computer, man. You can
So-
just look it up.
Well, I'm sure Kenton will in a
Yeah,
minute.
but
So
it's more like a West Coast offense base, and West Coast offense base is based on who's the most talented receiver.
yeah.
Gets to decide how he gets to be open.
Right.
Yeah. So week 1, you had a big week. 184 to 85.
Yeah.
And you had, I believe, I traded you DeAndre Hopkins
Yes.
for Zeke that week,
Yeah.
which I kind of regret because DeAndre Hopkins actually gave you 27 points.
Yes.
So you had a big week going into this.
Was to trade because I had good receivers, but I wanted number 1 receivers.
Yeah.
The ones that matter, like that the NFL pays the most.
Yeah.
So even if they had a bad week, they still had like 15 balls thrown at them.
So
That's
week
true.
2, you actually lost to Jimbo. Now,
Yes.
we all agree that Jimbo had a pretty stacked squad. I don't know what happened. That he went MIA as of October. A lot of players that he had, we all wish that he would have dropped and been able to pick up. Because Jimbo did beat some of you guys going into certain weeks, but unfortunately he didn't continue playing. We will be having an open spot, maybe 2 next year. We're going to invite some players, and if anybody watching this video is interested, I'll have my email up. Send me an email, and we'll definitely recruit 2 new players this year. Once again, I believe that this was the most competitive league I've been in a long time, and next year is definitely going to be another interesting year. So in week 3, you got a W against Iced Up. You only beat them by 7 point something points.
Mm-hmm.
You had Andy Dalton, who got you 16 points. You had Marcus Mariota, who actually got you minus 0.44 points.
Jeez.
But I think the player that saved you was Mike Evans.
Yes, like I said.
Who actually was on my team at some point,
Exactly.
which comes back to my point. When you run out of patience with certain players, sometimes it's hard to hold on to them because, you know what I mean. You can't just, as I said, you don't have the bench to just say, okay, like let's store them here and wait and see. You gotta keep it moving. And this is a perfect example. In fact, had I kept Mike Evans, maybe I would have won that matchup.
Oh, 100%. You probably would have, but maybe not because Barkley had a bad week for you and he only got you 5 points.
Yeah.
So these are 2 players that you traded to get Barkley. You gave Mike Evans away, and you took an L that week.
Yeah.
And I think that week is when you picked up Saquon Barkley as well.
Yeah.
So that just goes to show that certain moves that we make after losing patience, you know, I think next year, I think it's a lesson to all of us that we need to kind of like maybe hold on to players, but I think that's.
But it's a double-edged sword because if you hold on to players, you know, you may miss the opportunity to pick up others.
Yep.
Or if you know what I mean, and if you get rid of players, and like what happened here, you may come back to blow up a few weeks later and missing out on points.
Mm-hmm.
So it's it makes it fun in a sense where you got to manage your guys. You really got to like project and kind of make good guesses.
You're the GM.
My best trade was picking up Cooper Kupp. I really didn't know that Sean McVay was going to ride him throughout the whole beginning of the season.
Yeah.
And then, like he did at the end, switch away and went to a different
Woods.
player.
Yeah.
He went to Robert Woods and then Todd Gurley. So all my passes dipped down.
Yeah. So let's talk about week 4. Now, I need you to go into week 4. Who'd you take? You actually...
Oh, you. Week 4, right?
Yep.
Yeah. See, once again, I switched quarterbacks. I had Mariota and that beard guy there from Jacksonville.
Minshew.
Was it Minshew or Fitzpatrick?
Minshew.
Oh, Minshew. Oh, yeah.
See?
Yep.
I always change my quarterbacks.
And you ended up spanking me that week a lot.
Yeah, because I got lucky. You know what was my lucky pickup? Was actually Jimmy Graham.
Yeah.
Because...
For me, what sucked for me that week was Dak and Brady got me combined together 11 points. But we don't need to discuss that any further. We can just see by that alone why I ended up losing.
And one more thing too, one more to note. Whoever had Justin Tucker, the best kicker in the NFL, this guy said, "Yo, you want this kicker, Justin Tucker?" I'm like, "Why? You don't want him?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Okay, I'll take him." Who gives away the best kicker in the NFL?
That I'm not sure about.
I'm not sure about that honestly.
I'm like, which guy doesn't even know who's Justin Tucker? Like, which
Baltimore,
guy?
Baltimore lately, they keep playing on 4th down.
Yeah, they do, but when they
get it.
Because everybody's praising that, but still, in the end, they know when it comes to needing points and they're miles away and they don't need to fight anymore.
No, he's good with
40,
45, 50 yards. Yes.
I don't sweat because he's going to get that. And if he makes those, the points adds up more because he's kicking further behind.
My kicker is based off of players, teams that have hard time getting points that they have
That's
to kick
kind of like
all the time.
that's kind of how I planned my whole kicker situation. It was always matchup based because, I mean, like to your point about Tucker, I had him in a few other leagues as well. I mean, he's a solid kicker, but at the same time, the team that he's playing for is either scoring touchdowns or going for it on 4th down.
Exactly.
It's hard to keep up with those points. But I agree though. Tucker was one of the better kickers in the league this year because whenever he had an opportunity to kick a 50-yard field goal, he was always money.
Yeah.
I mean,
so from that point on, you ended up taking a few W's. You won some tight games. You won a game against Jimbo, which again didn't matter. Week 14, you had a bye. You got a W against the Bills in week 15, which 160 to 121. And in the finals, you took an L, falling into 2nd place against Micaldo for 137 to 90. I think the player that killed you the most, Kirk Cousins, killed you. He got you minus.
So Kirk Cousins and James White, you can't trust the Patriots, but you have to.
Yeah. Micaldo, again, the reason why I believe that you won, Lamar Jackson was a big factor in your fantasy this year.
Always.
Congratulations. Like I said, Kenton mentioned earlier when you drafted him, people were kind of shocked.
That's it.
You did it. Sean, you got second place. Cyril, third place. I want to congratulate you guys. I got the medals here. So basically, third place goes to Cyril.
Yeah.
Congratulations, buddy.
Thank you.
You came back and
You got
Sean,
fired for that one?
you were supposed to get first place, but you got beat from your boy.
Yeah, I know.
Here's a second
Somehow
place
with
medal.
art.
Taking place, yeah.
Micaldo gets the fantasy trophy to hold for the year. Micaldo Charles, Dirty Birds 2019 winner. Congratulations.
Yeah. Woo.
Thank you guys for coming. Now that we're done talking about the draft, let's go in, not the draft, the fantasy, I apologize. Let's talk NFL football playoffs. There's important games today coming up.
Oh, yeah.
One of the most important games today coming up, and let me put on the gear so I'm ready for this.
Let's talk about your boys, them boys.
Let's talk about them boys for a minute.
Oh,
So Dak is going into this game with an injury, and there's a lot of talk whether he's going to be playing or not. I think I saw something earlier saying that he wasn't sure. Listen, yesterday he announced a little bit that this might be the last time he's playing as a Cowboys. I doubt it. I don't think that it'll go to that point. I know Dak and Amari Cooper are going to be looking for contracts. I have to say, I think Dak will get his contract. I think they're going to franchise tag Amari Cooper. This is my opinion. Dallas Cowboys don't have enough cap room to be able to sign both of them going into the next season. What do you guys think?
well, wasn't the talk based on the cap going up anyways? They said doing that, increasing it, I think an extra $2 million or so that they're gonna get. They could split that up, and I think that can help them a little bit more.
I know they're asking Dak to do, as they call it, they wanted him to take a lower pay cut so that other
Keep
players
the team intact.
exactly to keep the team intact. Listen,
Tom Brady does
he's
it.
looking to be paid big dollars.
Yeah.
He saw Carson Wentz get big dollars, and he's looking to get paid more than Carson Wentz was. I think one of the biggest mistakes that I see going forward in the NFL, and this is not just to the Dallas Cowboys, this is to anybody. Once these players get the big dollars, they don't produce like they usually did.
Rarely do.
Rarely do. Zeke struggled this year. D-Law struggled this year. These are players that got paid big dollars, and it's an ongoing issue.
Your team's not functioning right.
No,
They
they're not.
paid them right.
Yeah.
They just didn't function right. They went away from the running game
Yeah.
and went to the passing game. So how's that his
Listen,
fault?
I think personally, these players don't want to play for Jason Garrett anymore. I think they're tired of Jason Garrett. They need to move from Jason Garrett, move forward. And I think if Jerry Jones, wake the hell up, fire him. If Jerry Jones fires Jason Garrett, gets a new coach coming in going forward, we'll definitely see a different Dallas Cowboys team next year going into next season. You're a Steelers fan. What happened to them this year?
Well, it's pretty easy. Ben Roethlisberger got out, but you saw the death of the Steelers this year. James Washington, Benny Sneals.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, we lost Connor as well.
Yeah.
Of course, we don't have a great backup quarterback. Mason Rudolph ended up being a little bit of a disappointment at the end, especially since that game against the Browns. But other than that, honestly, we have depth, and we're gonna come back next year. Who knows if Dak doesn't sign? He has a nice home right here in Pittsburgh.
Oh,
I feel like it was death from start with the Steelers.
Well,
That's
speaking
from
about
start.
that Rudolph, that game between the Rudolph and the Steelers and the Browns, what's your opinion on that? Do you think that Rudolph should have also got suspended for that
I feel
incident?
part of the players believe what that player, sorry, I forgot his name, from the Browns said. Honestly, I believe some of them believe that he said that. And
racial comment?
The racial comment. And that's the reason why we're seeing a quarterback change again to Doc Hodges.
You know what? I was a little looking at it the other side. I don't think he would have been dumb enough to throw that type of racial comment with the amount of players that he had around him. They were that racial comment. I think other players would have heard it, and I think even his own teammates would have turned at him to be like, "Have you lost your mind?"
I also don't believe he said it, but I think some players believe he might have said it.
Yeah, yeah, and that's we don't know. Like it could have been said when he was on the ground at some point. So I definitely like your intake on it, and I believe a lot of people are probably feeling the same way. But I believe that both players should have took a suspension. In my belief, they both had something to do with
You
that.
really think both do?
Yeah.
I just think boys are boys. I don't know. I've been watching football for so long. We see worse with Albert Hainsworth stomping on the guy's head.
Oh yeah, but you gotta say something. He ripped his helmet off his like.
But that's what Mason was trying to do, though. That's what Mason was trying to do. He didn't do it. Oh yeah. So I defend him.
So that's why I think he should have gotten a suspension too. Because at the same time, like he got sacked. Like he could have just taken the flag. He could have got the flag and then got next play. Game was over anyways.
Yeah, I mean? That's the way I look at it.
Exactly. So there was no reason really for Mason Rudolph to go and try to take off his helmet, and then from there, I think that's where it escalated.
Yeah.
And in terms of the suspensions being laid down, I think the NFL had to do something with that just because it was a national televised game.
Yeah.
There was so many eyes on that one game. It was
Yeah.
a Thursday night game. Nobody else was watching anything else, especially on Thursday Night Football. So I mean, just the optics of it were so bad that they had to do something. You know what I mean? If they didn't do anything, there would have been backlash. So I think at that point they should have. They made the right decision for suspending him indefinitely, but I think Mason Rudolph should have gotten something for that as well because you were involved in that incident.
I hated that it went one-sided.
It's true.
So let's bring up a little bit about. You're a Falcon.
I knew he was going to try to do that.
So my team, every year it's been like this for a long time. I'm used to them making it.
Stop. I've been like this all the time. Your team has made playoffs, even made the Super Bowl, but we won't even talk about that game because
it's since that choke, eh?
Yeah,
since that choke.
That
curse.
Yeah.
I think they're hurt now.
Still stings.
Matt Ryan is always nervous. He has this nightmare in his head, I think, because every game that he tries to come back in, he still makes that same playoff mistake, and then it's back to the same thing. We keep losing, and I think personally, I love my team, but I think we really need to get rid of him.
So you guys think you need to move on from Matt Ryan?
Matt Ryan, Dan Quinn, they all say Dan Quinn should be gone too. Yeah, he came in saying he was good with the defense. He's the defensive guy. He was good with that, and he's an offensive coach now. But your defense sucks. You were a defensive coach at one point, but your defense sucks.
Yeah.
So as a coach, you should be doing something for this, and he clearly hasn't been taking the right steps to perfect that. I think both of them personally should go, but mostly Matt Ryan. I felt that when he got paid that big amount of money, that's when everything started just
going downhill.
Downhill for him.
We're bringing the money subject up.
That's
I think that's one of the biggest problems in the NFL.
How is that the problem? He got paid well, but when he was with Kyle Shanahan,
yes,
he killed it that season.
That's what I was gonna allude to as well. I was like, well, when they made it to the Super Bowl, Kyle Shanahan was the offensive coordinator.
Exactly.
And then he left after that year. They haven't been the same team since. That offense has been like up and down.
Yeah, nobody knows that.
And then you look at San Francisco, what they're doing. Once they got their places, their players isn't set up in the right places. You know what I mean? Look what they're doing now. So I think it's more coaching. I think Kyle Shanahan was a big loss for the Falcons because since they lost him, they haven't really been the same team. They don't have much of. I mean, we know them as an offensive team, but at the same time, it's like they're not even consistent offensively. So I feel like they've lost their identity in that perspective.
Yeah. So I understand your perspective on it, but your team sucks. You guys weren't even in the playoffs like a few weeks ago. You guys had no light to look forward to.
Williams still had a good season. No?
Yeah, they started coming back at the end, but you know everything is too late now. Like she's showing what they can do. But
obviously, they're able to do something. They beat the 49ers, right?
Yeah, we beat the 49ers. We beat top teams. We're 6-9 right now. I mean, come on. I thought we were going to be worse than that, but 6-9 is pretty good. Last year 6-9 would have done something, but this year no.
Yeah,
there's too many high-end teams.
And I think and that's something else I want to bring up. What do you guys feel about how some of these teams make the playoffs? Because some of these teams with a terrible record because of the division they're in, they're able to make playoffs.
like your Cowboys.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
No, and that's why I'm bringing this up.
Wow.
There's some teams who have like 11 and something record and they don't make the playoffs because I think the system definitely in the NFL needs to change somewhere with that. And I'm even saying that with my Cowboys fighting to make the playoffs with an 8-8 record that they have, right? Not even 8-8. I'm sorry.
7 and 8.
7 and 8. So, what do you guys think about that? Is that something that needs to change eventually, or do you think that the system's okay the way it is?
It's once again, I think it's a division. Like once again, you just got to win your division.
Yeah.
It adds more credibility for you, so that when you get into those kind of situations, you can easily surpass the other guy. Like for example, the only reason why they were still looking better than the Eagles at the time is because they won more divisional games.
Yeah, exactly.
After that, it just came down to their overall performance to any of these players, any of these teams. It's not our fault now that 4 teams out of most of the division is at 11, 12 and something, and the rest are losing.
Yeah.
It's the teams. I find that it's just the team itself that's causing this kerfuffle this year, but they should definitely find a fine tune to kind of make it more smooth.
Yeah.
In terms of the process itself.
I like the rivalries, though.
Yeah.
I like the
I
rivalries.
think everybody likes
They-
that.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody likes that.
I think it's important. You have to have some sort of importance for winning your division.
Yep.
But at the same time, like for example, we have like the Eagles and Cowboys. One of those two teams is going to host a game against a team that has a better record next week. To me, I think that needs to change. If you have you can make the playoffs by winning your division, but you shouldn't be able to host a playoff game against a team with a better record the first round of the playoffs. You know what I mean? I think that needs to change. But I mean, having division winners go to the playoffs, that kind of adds. You know, you got to keep it that way because you're playing these teams. Six out of your 16 games are against your division opponents. You got to have some sort of value, and have to have some sort of value for winning your division.
Yeah.
Even if it means teams like the Cowboys at 8-8 get a chance to go into the playoffs too.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. So we're gonna touch on your Vikings a little bit. Vikings struggled the last couple of years, and I think they've come back really strong this year. Talk a little bit about your team and.
I just feel like I don't know what's gonna happen with Kirk Cousins. I've been a Vikings fan since way back, and all we have is never had his quarterback play. Kirk Cousins is up and down. It's whatever. Like defense, I'm used to having good defense. I like my defense. I like my defensive coach. I like the running back squad. Love my receivers. They're the best in the league. It's just all depends on the quarterback, and I don't know what's gonna happen. That's
Who
all
would you like to see in the playoffs?
I'd love to see my team,
Okay.
but in the playoffs, for coming from our side of the division, realistically, I would think maybe I'll just go with maybe the Saints. I see the Saints.
In the finals.
Yeah, the Saints. Against. I would love to see it against like Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson. Give me an offense kind of crazy, mega kind of game.
Yeah.
Okay.
No defense, just points.
just
points,
points.
just
Just
points.
going crazy. That's what my girlfriend loved when she saw the Eagles and the Patriots play.
Yeah.
I would say still, I'll go with the Ravens for sure. Like I said, I supported them from the beginning. I knew they were gonna do great. I just didn't know it was this great. I just knew great. I still hate Tom Brady, but I would like to see him get beat again because I love to see his face when he actually loses the game. So that would be something that I want to see. New England versus the Ravens because I want him to be beat down.
Yeah.
So, who would you like to see in the finals?
Of course, we would like to see the Ravens, see how far they can take it. I mean, they've been an amazing team. Go check the stats. Ever since they got Marcus Peters, they've been amazing. Like they've been an up and down team at first, a great offense. Yeah, they played they killed the Dolphins and a few other teams at first, but they were an okay team until then. But once they got that player, they became really a next level. And then and then Lamar Jackson, oh my God, like there's no way to keep him off the MVP this year.
No.
And play against who? I'd say be surprised. The Patriots are not making it past the Bills. Watch the Bills. at the right time.
You sound just like my father.
Yeah, I'm
Like,
telling you.
You think the Bills are the team that's gonna take them down?
I'm telling you. We'll see. You'll see. But probably gonna be a Chief Raven.
Chief Raven?
I think everyone would like that.
All right. So, Kenton, I didn't really touch on your team because I know you don't have a team.
No, I look at the league from an unbiased perspective, so I
Oh,
see
that's
things
good.
clearly. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So you just like, oh, hop on this team.
No, there's no hop on. It's just like I can
That's
look-
what I said then.
No,
You must be one of those bagging ones.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
after the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I just
So
look at
if there's a
everything.
player he really likes, then he'd be like, yeah, that's my team.
No, honestly, I've always been a Michael Vick fan. He was like any team he was on was my team, I guess, at that point. But then he retired, so I mean, for now, I'm just kind of, enjoying the league. Looking at it from a clear scope, and I like it that way.
Now, who do you think is going to be in the finals?
To be honest with you, I'd like to see the Saints take the NFC, and I'd like to see the Baltimore Ravens as well. I think that'd be a good matchup. Now I'd also like to see Brady against Breeze as well because you've never seen that. So I mean that'd be pretty cool as well to see in the Super Bowl. See those two kind of neck and neck, borderline goats, I guess you can say. Go head to head in the Super Bowl. It'd also be great to see a great defense go up against a great offense as well, which I think would be pretty nice to see as well, to see who would come out on top in that kind of matchup. But you can't sleep on guys like Aaron Rodgers. You can't sleep on guys like Patrick Mahomes. So I mean, you never know. These guys can always make some noise as well. But my ideal Super Bowl would be the Saints against the Ravens. I think that would be great to see two great offenses going up against it.
So you say the Saints against the Ravens. Okay, all right. So my take on it, I'd like to see Mahomes against Lamar Jackson. That would be my take on it. I think that would be an amazing game. Two young quarterbacks who both run the ball pretty well, both throw the ball pretty well, and I think it would definitely be. I'm tired of these NFL blowout games in the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I
by
like
halftime
close
it's
games.
done. Yeah.
Yeah, and we thought that against Atlanta that year against New England. It was done at halftime, but
No, I told him, like, the only way Atlanta's going to beat them is they have to beat them full throttle. You cannot take the breaks. You cannot take a break off against a team like the Patriots.
Yeah.
Even if you're up by 40 points in the first half, you can't just look at the second half and be like, yo, I'm going to cool off and chill and get back. You can't do that.
You gotta maintain that same level.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? They gotta maintain that same level that got you to where you were in the first place.
Exactly.
Now, what's your guys' take about the Saints? Like the Bridgewater Saints or the Breeze Saints?
Oh, honestly, I feel hurt because then again, Minnesota had Bridgewater, and then what did Mike Zimmer do? Traded him.
Yeah,
that's one of the
giving him a
quarterbacks I
chance.
wish I could hold on to.
Yeah,
Listen,
but I think it goes to speak to the system that the Saints have. I mean, Sean, I think we gotta look at, instead of looking at the quarterbacks, you gotta look at the coach behind the quarterback.
Yeah.
And I think Sean Payton's putting those guys in great positions with the weapons that he has to make those guys successful. Because he was on Minnesota, he wasn't putting up those kind of numbers, but at the same time, he didn't have that system. He didn't have those receivers. He didn't have that running back. So I mean, I think the system also has, kind of like Kyle Shanahan. Look what he's doing with Jimmy Garoppolo and those guys. Matt Breida, Raheem Mostert, who knew who he was before this season. Coleman, who was a backup in Atlanta. Look what he's doing with Kyle Shanahan. So I think it's a lot of times it's the system. And I think if you just have a quarterback who's somewhat accurate, who can, make proper reads, you put Sean Payton behind him, he can get you the same production. Maybe not the same production as Drew Brees, because Drew Brees is still, he's one of the greatest of all time, even though you can even question that, because look what he was doing in San Diego before he went to New Orleans. Yeah. He was a backup to Phillip Rivers. That's why they drafted Phillip Rivers, because Drew Brees went to bed in San Diego. So, I mean, it's it comes down to, especially in New Orleans, I think it comes down to the system and what Sean Payton has in place with the players he's got for the quarterback.
That's it.
All right, guys. I want to thank you very much for doing this with me. Once again, the Dallas Cowboys for Life Chan. We got my boy Kenton, Cyril, Micaldo, Sean. And we out.
Peace.